Welcome to the short video series titled Seeing What You're Missing. In this 3-video series, we will show the new features and highlight the improvements made to Altium Designer 19. This is not for new users, but rather for existing users and is intended to illustrate the new tool features. In the intro video, we will cover the new look and updated interface, including the new panels using the current released version of Altium Designer. The first thing you will notice is the new color scheme. This provides a more modern look and was intended to ease eye strain. With the new GUI, there are a few other changes worth noting. Accessing preferences and signing up or licensing are two of the most requested support questions that are needed by new users. To access the preferences, simply click on the gear icon in the upper right window. This will open the familiar Preferences window, allowing edits and customization as needed. If you prefer the lighter interface look, this can be changed in the Preferences under General View tab folder. Now the tool needs to be started for the setting to take an effect. I prefer the darker color scheme, so I will keep it. Signing in and pulling licenses is done just like we used to, using the icon that looks like a person. Clicking on it will open up the drop-down menu with licenses and extension updates. Clicking Licenses opens the familiar License Manager window, where you can log in and select a license for use. As before, you can click on the Extensions and Updates tab in this window and check for and install updates. One non-obvious performance difference is the switch from 32-bit to 64-bit executables, starting with Altium Designer 18. This allows for larger designs and also comes with support for multi-threading for increased performance. Altium Designer is the same tool you've been using, but with a number of improvements. It is still project-based, schematic-driven PCB design flow, and it continues with the underlying unified data model that Altium has always relied upon. Altium Designer maintains compatibility with prior versions, supporting opening up designs captured in those versions. So what aside from the GUI color change is new, you ask? In short, a lot. Let's look at some of the new features. The Properties panel was added as a major improvement for editing of components and groups of items. It can be a powerful aid in selecting and refining the selection of elements, both in the schematic as well as the PCB views. To open the Properties panel, we click on the panel button and select Properties. In earlier versions of Altium Designer, we could edit the property of a particular selected component by double-clicking on it. This opened up a pop-up window which blocked any other action in the tools until it was closed. Now the Properties panel allows for editing and for continued actions in the tool. This provides a powerful means for capturing and updating designs. Looking at the schematic with nothing selected, we can see the sheet information. We can change the grid or the snap distances that are used in this panel. We can even change the sheet color. Selecting a component shows its information, including footprint and library. Looking at the PCB, with nothing selected, we can see the board information shown in the Properties panel. Things like grid settings or the PCB units being used can directly be accessed here in this panel. One powerful use of this panel is in selection filtering. We can use the selection filter to narrow the scope of what we select. Here we click on the All Objects button, clearing all of the selection options, and now we can click on specific elements that we want to affect. Let's select only components. The same selection filter can be used to select only traces, for edits or for vias. I use this selection filter to limit selecting tracks or vias when editing in a crowded section of the PCB. This avoids having to do the multi-click on possible selection options when this filter is not set. One newer feature related to the selection is the left to right and right to left mouse selection operation. Here, the direction of the mouse sweep determines what is selected. In particular, right to left selects everything contained or touching the bounding box. Again, by combining this with the filtering, this can be a fast way to select a group of particular objects in a region. Left to right only selects what is fully contained in the bounding box. Notice in this case nothing was selected. This is because the components were not fully contained in the left to right rectangle. Try it for yourself. This can be a big help in refining the selection on a crowded PCB or on a schematic. The Components panel has been added and replaces the Library panel. To open the panel, use the Panels button and select Components. This new panel offers full details of the selected component, including parameters, models, part choices, supplier data, etc. It also allows for component comparison, and for Manage Components, a filter-based parametric search capability for specifying target component parameters. It is used much like the earlier Library panel. In addition, it provides more information within a single view. With schematics, it is used for placing components in the design from the various sources, including libraries. Adding libraries can be done as before. To add an integrated library, click on the triple icon and select File-Based Library Preferences. This will open up the available File-Based Library window where you can add, enable, or disable libraries. One problem that we often run into, slowing our progress, is that we need a component we do not already have in our libraries. Using the Manufacturer Search Panel feature can help with this. It can be accessed at the bottom of the list of components in the library listing, or we can open up this panel by selecting Panel and then clicking on Manufacturer Part Search. In this panel, you will find needed parts using either the generic type search or the manufacturer's part number. There are numerous parts here that can be used, and if needed, their properties and parameters can be changed to suit your needs using the Properties panel. I have used the Generic Passive Components category to find a surface mount resistor in a 603 package. Using the search window entry, selecting and placing it, and then updating the value as needed. This particular resistor was pulled out of the Altium Content Vault. This panel has saved me both time and effort for creating needed parts. Again, I don't have to start from scratch. Placing the selected resistor, we can see its properties using the Properties panel, and we could edit the instance designator, change the comments, look at or edit parameters and pins for this component. Notice the footprints are shown as well. One new feature is the Active Toolbar. This provides easy access to the most used functions in the schematic or PCB view. This toolbar can be customized if desired. Again, as expected, this toolbar changes when going from schematic to PCB views. Placing a wire, we can see that while it's selected, we can edit its properties in the Properties window. The Properties window and the Manufacturer Part Search panel are time savers, speeding the design. This is especially true when using the selection filter, say in the PCB. Again, using the selection filter, we can limit what is selected. Here we uncheck all and pick only components. Now in the PCB, we can select components. Likewise, we can limit selection to traces. This can speed up selection while avoiding misselecting elements for editing. This has been an introduction to the newest Altium Designer look and interface with the added panels aimed at improving efficiency and having a streamlined GUI. In our next video, we will explore some of the new and improved features of Altium Designer.